come in to our service. Thank you. Come into this gathering of the Unitarian Universalists of Grand Traverse. Come join us as we honor those who have helped us formulate our seventh principle, our respect for the interdependent web of all existence. I'm Margaret Wozniak, a member of the Sunday Services Committee, and I'm joined today by Susan Smith and Natalie McIntyre, who are helping with this service. We are happy to see those of you in our sanctuary and to welcome many of you who are joining us online. Do we have any visitors today? And if so, are you comfortable standing up and introducing yourself? If so, we'll bring you a microphone. Do we have any visitors?
Yeah, hold on. Hi, I'm Erin Pardo. This is my husband, Louis, and my daughter, Lyra. We've been here a few times, but we're not members yet, so we're visiting again.
Welcome, Erin and family. One more?
Hello, my name is Pam Hill. I moved here to Travers in March. I'm from Mississippi.
Welcome, Pam.
We're Jack and Carol Dodds, and we're visiting from north of Toronto. My mother, Elizabeth, was a member here quite some time ago.
Welcome, our Canadian visitors.
Good morning. I'm Joe Backus. I'm here with my wife Barbara, who is a regular here.
Welcome.
Everybody, I'm Miriam, and this is my friend Ashley. Thanks for having us here today.
Welcome, Miriam. Thank you to all of you online, in the sanctuary, and visitors. Please join us in the social hall after the service so that we can welcome you in person. And if you take a yellow mug for your beverage, we'll be able to identify you more readily. As October's Soul Matters theme is heritage, today we examine the life and thoughts of 19th century explorer and scientist Alexander von Humboldt. He may have been a major thinker influencing the formation of our seventh principle, the respect for the interconnected existence of everything as a web of life. It is our custom to share those events in our life that bring us joy and concern. And if you have an event that you would like to have later in the service, please write it in the book on the left-hand wall, and we will read it up. You can do that up until the time of the offering. And you may simply light a candle for your intention at any time during the service. So now let us enjoy our centering music. Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We are a community of the wide embrace. You are welcome here regardless of your economic status, your gender identity, your sexual expression, your career path, or your achievements. You are welcome here because you are lovable, valuable, and worthy just as you are. These words by Wilfred Pelletier and Ted Poole encapsulate our outlook, and they are from a book called Earth Prayers. Wherever you are is home, and the earth is paradise. Wherever you set your feet is holy land. You don't live off it like a parasite. You live in it and it in you, or you don't survive. And that is the only worship of God that there is. Susan will read our chalice lighting words.
Our chalice lighting words today come from Betty Doyle. We join Unitarian Universalists worldwide in the act of lighting our chalice, a circle of unity and a flame of guidance. Glory be to the earth and the wind. Glory be to the sun and the rain. Glory be to animals and children and women and men. Glory be to our holy flame, which calls us together as one. In the Buddhist tradition, we ring the singing bowl to bring our attention to the value of being present at this moment. Let its sound bring your focus to the everlasting moment of now. And now we'll enjoy the opening song performed by the vocal ensemble.
Me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me.
And you're over there.
That's what I said.
Something between us that's greater than air.
Don't you see?
Seems like I'm over here. And you're over there.
That's what I said.
Something between us that's greater than air.
Don't you see?
Seems like I'm over here. And you're over there.
That's what I said.
Something between us that's greater than air.
Don't you see?
Seems like I'm over here. And you're over there.
That's what I said.
Something between us that's greater than air.
Don't you see?
Seems like I'm over there. And you're over there.
It's a fashion song that's
Seems like I'm over there. And you're over there.
Now is the time of our offertory where you, week after week, reach deep into your pockets to support the congregational staff and facilities and to support community outreach programs in the Traverse area where so many have unmet needs. An amazing example of stepping up has been provided over the last 3 years by a private restaurant on South Airport Road, J&S Hamburg. They and their staff have provided 290,173 meals and counting for kids in the area. The meals sit in an unlocked cooler in front of their restaurant, waiting for the kids to pick them up. Another example of community services is Safe Harbor, which provides lodging, an evening meal, and morning coffee through the cold months. It is staffed for 1 week by members of this congregation, coordinated by Rich Fowler and Betsy Wacker. There are 2 sides to the baskets being passed. The red side supports the congregation and its needs, and the blue supports our outreach ministries that are many and varied. If you are watching at home, you may give as described in the slides via the Vanco Giving app, via the UUCGT website, by check, or by pre-arrangement with your bank for a monthly deduction. You may designate your gift as you choose for the community, for the congregation's sustenance or for community outreach. And meditation music during the offering is performed by Amanda Mangiardi, her own composition, Sailing Away, as the offering is collected.
I always love the words that Reverend Alex uses to introduce the joys and concerns, so I'm going to repeat them. It is our practice as a religious community to set aside time in our service to name and honor the joys and concerns that mark our lives, the milestones and moments of our lived experience. I will be sharing the joys and concerns that have been offered up for us to hold in our hearts. If you have a joy or concern that's a bit too heavy to share, I invite you to reach out to a member of the congregational care team. I see today's representative is Barb Gibson. If your joy or concern is still raw and tender, we invite you to hold it in your heart as you are held in this loving community. For none of us is meant to travel life's journeys alone. Now here's what has been shared with our community today. From Carrie Allspa, holding my close friends in my heart who are struggling with cancer, and another who was hit by a car riding his bike. A new grandson is expected very soon, but he will have to wait. We will have to wait to meet him as he is not yet able to travel. And this is from, says, Jack and I, Carol Dodds, are happy to announce our latest grandchild, Archie, who will be the 4th generation Unitarian in our family. And from Barb Tremont, dear friends, it is good to be here with you today as I reside in Santa Cruz now. Many of you know my mother-in-law, Josephine. She turned 93 3 weeks ago and celebrated by taking her first assisted steps since following a week of surgery in June. And we would take a brief moment of stillness for all the joys and concerns that remain in our heart unspoken on the invisible string. Now, please join Susan as she leads our responsive reading.
This responsive reading is by Richard Gilbert from Earth Prayers. Blessed are the heavens, for they declare the power of creation.
Blessed is the earth, our beloved home, for she is a planet of plenitude.
Blessed are the waters, for they give rise to living things.
Blessed is the land, for it is the source of life abundant.
Blessed is the air we breathe, for it fires us to life and love.
Blessed are the beasts of the field, for they are glorious to behold.
Blessed are the birds of the air, for they carve a graceful arc in the sky.
Blessed are the mountains and the seas and the valleys, for their variety makes rich our habitat.
Blessed are the fields of grain, the orchards of fruit, for they give sustenance and asking nothing in return.
Blessed are the flowers on the earth, for they cherish the privilege of living upon it.
Blessed are they who protect the earth and all her creatures, from the plants of the field to the trees of the forest, for their reward shall be harmony with the web of existence.
Rejoice and be glad, for the earth and her people are one.
And please rise in body or spirit as you are able and willing to join in our song of response, Spirit of Life.
We hear the message of another of our ancestors, Chief Seattle, in these excerpts from one of his speeches. Every part of this earth is sacred to my people. Every shining pine needle, every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every meadow, every humming insect, all are holy in the memory and experience of my people. We know the sap which courses through the trees as we know the blood that courses through our veins. We are part of the earth, and it is part of us. The perfumed flowers are our sisters, the bear, the deer, the great eagle, these are our brothers. The rocky crests, the juices in the meadow, the body heat of the pony, and humans all belong to the same family. The shining water that moves in the streams and rivers is not just water, but the blood of our ancestors. Each ghostly reflection in the clear waters of the lakes tells the events and memories in the life of my people. The water's murmur is the voice of my father's father. The rivers are our brothers. They quench our thirst, they carry our canoes, and feed our children. The air is precious to us. It shares its spirit with all the life it supports. This we know. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. All things are connected like the blood that unites us all. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves.
There's no place I like better than the mouth of the Platte River in Benzie County. When our children were young, we used to camp at what was then known as Benzie State Park. And we would regularly float down the river into the cold waters of Lake Michigan. I felt immersed in something stable and enduring. I was connected to earth, water, sky, and family in a simple act of enjoyment. I think that is similar to what Alexander von Humboldt must have felt as he traveled the rivers of Venezuela, a joy in the wonder of it all. In our UU 7th principle, we covenant to affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And as I recently reread one of my favorite books called The Invention of Nature by Andrea Wolf, it occurred to me that the story that it relates about the man, Alexander von Humboldt, might help us understand the ideas behind our 7th principle. The October Soul Matters theme is heritage, and I think he may be a part of our heritage as Unitarian Universalists. Von Humboldt is important for 4 reasons. First, he recognized that all things are one, that all things on earth are in relationship. Secondly, he saw that there was a relationship between science and art, formulating the idea that science does not stand alone, but has a relationship to our feelings and to our humanity. Third, he recognized long, long ago the negative impact of people on the environment and the early signs of climate change. And lastly, he saw the negative impacts of colonization. As we look at each of these concepts, see if you can see a relationship to our 7th principle. Now you must go back to Prussia, a powerful nation long before the German states were united. He was born in Prussia in 1769 to a wealthy, aristocratic family, and he had an older brother, Wilhelm. And when the boys were very young, their father died. Their mother was cold, unloving, and insisted only that her sons were well educated and tutored so that they could be an asset to the Prussian state. Alexander, however, was not so much interested in his studies as he was interested in the outdoors. He followed his mother's demands, however, and was educated to be a mining engineer and worked for the state as a mine inspector. His mother's early death from cancer and his subsequent inheritance of a large sum of money freed him, however, to follow his heart and explore the world. This is when he began to understand the concepts that have influenced our UU heritage. Alexander first spent 5 months in South America, exploring Venezuela and the rivers of the northern part of that continent. South America, you say? Why would he start out there? Well, at this time, Europe was in the midst of fighting Napoleon Bonaparte, and there was not a safe place to travel. So he received permission from the King of Spain to travel in some of the Spanish colonies. And where were most of the Spanish colonies? Except for Brazil, they were all in South America. So to prepare for the trip, he purchased the latest scientific instruments available: telescopes, microscopes, a pendulum clock for determining longitude, and compasses, 42 instruments in all, each individually packed into velvet-lined protective boxes. And there went a large part of his inheritance. His partner during these years was a French scientist named Aimé Bonpland, and they ranged through Venezuela, collecting plants, animals, rocks, seeds, measuring the heights of mountains, determining longitudes and latitudes, all new information to a Europe that was begging for information about the new world. They climbed volcanoes and mountains. They canoed rivers to find their sources and connections. The two collected thousands of new plants, pressing and preserving them for further study and carrying them with them all the time, and hiring people to carry all of those 42 instruments. So it wasn't just the two gentlemen making the journeys. It was the two gentlemen and their entourage. On the Orinoco River, Alexander realized the immensity of the web of life. He saw capybaras, the world's largest rodents, escaping from the water, from the jaws of the crocodiles, only to run straight into the mouth of the jaguar. On the sea voyages, he saw the flying fish jump out of the ocean, away from the dolphin's sharp teeth, only to be caught in midair by the albatrosses. This was a web of life in a relentless and bloody battle, an idea that was very different from the prevailing view of nature as a well-oiled machine in which every animal and plant had its divinely allocated place. He found connections everywhere. Nothing, not even the tiniest organism, was looked at on its own. He compared every stone and plant and tree to ones that he was already familiar with at home. And in this great chain of causes and effects, no single fact could be considered in isolation. With these concepts, he realized that all life was connected. He found that certain plant forms, whether grasses or firs or mosses, reappeared across the earth. These fundamental forms were repeated even though they were separated by oceans or broad expanses of land. When exploring the Andes near Quito, Ecuador, he climbed a 21,000-foot volcano called Chimborazo. Well, he didn't quite climb all the way to the top because he encountered a deep, wide crevasse. And his entourage, the people that were carrying all those instruments, had given up on him several thousand feet lower. But as he did this, standing on that vantage point, he looked down the slopes and at the mountain ranges in the distance, and he saw everything that he'd seen in previous years fall into place. Everything was interwoven as with 1,000 threads. The same mosses, plants, and trees were found on different continents at similar elevations. Vegetation zones ascended the mountains the same way that they changed according to latitude. He didn't just report specific data, he understood the connections between them. For example, when other scientists were reporting meteorological data such as weather and temperature, Humboldt saw climate as a system of complex correlations between atmosphere, ocean, land mass, winds, ocean currents, elevations, and plant cover. He saw relationships. He stated that nature is a living whole, not a dead aggregate. Living beings mutually influenced and supported one another, an idea that prompted a later scientist, Ernst Haeckel, to coin the term ecology. One single life had been poured over the stones, the plants, the animals, and humankind. It was all one. The second idea he formulated was that science is not separate from the human experience. Science, art, and culture are all related. Nature is an interrelated unity that includes our human emotions and our imaginations. Nature is seen as an aesthetic experience. This is nature that is the source of art. Art has the potential to present the natural world in a living way, including the feelings of pleasure and awe and wonder and shock, and the sense of sadness or constraint or bewilderment. Nature is not only out there, it is in here, and it manifests itself in art, especially here today in music. He realized that human cultures exist squarely within the natural world, and therefore the destruction of nature will lead to the destruction of those cultures. The human and the natural webs are one. In his book called The Views of Nature, Humboldt showed how nature could have an influence on people's well-being. He saw a correlation between the external world and our moods. Knowledge and pleasure can work together. There is delight in making scientific discoveries. It was unusual for a scientist of his day to make such an observation, relating the scientist's work to his feelings. And the third idea Humboldt brought to people's awareness is that of human-induced climate change and the negative human impact on the land. When nature is seen as a web, its vulnerability becomes obvious. Everything hangs together, and if one thread is pulled, the tapestry will unravel. He saw this in the deforestation of Venezuela. Deforestation making the lands barren so that sugar and indigo and tobacco plantations could be planted. And as a result, the soil washed away on the mountain slopes, which led to extreme erosion. The lake levels dropped because they didn't have enough forest cover to prevent evaporation. The web was unraveling. He noticed the same thing during a trip to Russia in 1859, where the forests were cleared for farms and especially for mines. And he commented that great masses of steam and gas were being produced in the industrial centers of the country. His ideas were forerunners of later ideas related to pollution and climate change. And this is in the 1850s. Lastly, he saw that colonialism and slavery and the economy were all related. While visiting Cuba, he saw the slave laborers on the plantations. And in Venezuela, he saw the slave market in Cumaná, where slaves had been sold since the 1500s. He saw the inferior working conditions in the Prussian mines, so he invented a breathing mask and improved miners' lamps. He saw the negative impact of colonialism on people and the environment, where the indigenous people were treated as savages, demeaned, and exploited. He stated that indigenous peoples were as capable of scientific discoveries and art and craftsmanship as Europeans. But he also saw that South America was being destroyed by its conquerors. When Humboldt visited President Jefferson in 1804, he stated his opposition to slavery as the basis of the Southern economy. Here we have it again: colonialism, exploitation, the economic system. It seemed that the exploitation was universal. With these ideas of Humboldt, we can see the basis of our idea of life as a unified, sacred whole. How far did his ideas reach? They reached the scientists and writers such as Charles Darwin, Henry David Thoreau, Simon Bolivar, John Muir, Rachel Carson. His most well-known publication is probably the 5-volume Cosmos, a sketch of the physical description of the universe. I don't think it's a sketch if it's 5 volumes. The word cosmos in ancient Greek means elegance and world. And in this book, his goal was to understand nature and capture its beauty. He was a prolific writer and authored many more books, all on the aspects of the web of life. And we look at the web of life, and we must have gotten those ideas from somewhere. We've gotten them from other people who've come before. And I think Alexander von Humboldt may well have been one of the people at the core of our 7th principle, showing the interconnectedness of all life. He may also be at the core of our 1st principle, which covenants and affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Instead of God, he spoke of the wonderful web of organic life. You may not have floated down the rivers of South America or even down the Platte. But I bet you have a spot in nature where you continue to feel the oneness of it all. May it be so, and amen. Please enjoy a moment of stillness. Please join in our closing hymn, All Things Breathe as One.
You will find this selection in one of our hymnals, so please listen and join in as you feel welcome and comfortable. All things breathe as one. All things breathe as one. Within this present moment, all things breathe as one. All things breathe as one. All things breathe as one. Within this present moment, all things breathe as one. All things breathe as one. All things breathe as one. Within this present moment, all things breathe as one.
You are invited to show a sign of unity by joining hands, touching another's shoulder, or simply outstretching your arms as Margaret releases the flame. This reading is by Bill Faraday, found in Earth Prayers from around the world. Hail, Mother, who art the earth, hallowed be thy soil, rocks, and flora that nourish and support all life. Blessed be thy wind that gives us breath, and thy waters that quench, bathe, and refresh all living things. Holy earth, as one, we praise your majesty, grace, and wonder.
We close with an ancient Tibetan Buddhist blessing. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be free from inner and outer dangers. May you be healthy in body and mind. May you find peace and be truly happy. Go in peace and grow in love. Please join us in the social hall for conversation. And I'm asked to announce that Rick Walter is in the hallway taking any money you may want to leave for tickets for the Harvest Dinner, which is going to be on the 19th of November at Twin Lakes Lodge. And we will not have a service here on that day, but go make plans for Thanksgiving dinner.